Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fahariza Wirawan. I'm here with my friend Ahmad Fajari, Farel Asani, and Muji Basuki Santoso. Today we want to present to you all about a classical Muslim scholar. In this presentation, we have three discussion point. The first is biography. Second is what contribution to the world and Islam. And the last is what moral value can we get from this Islamic scholar. Okay, the man is Abdurrahman bin Muhammad bin Al Hasan bin Jabir bin Muhammad bin Ibrahim bin Abdurrahman bin Ibnu Haldun Al Hadrami, generally known as Ibnu Haldun. After a remote ancestor was born in Tunis in 1332 into an upper class Andalusian family of Arab descent. The family ancestor was the Ahadrami, who share kinship with Wail ibn Hujr, a companion of the Islamic Prophet Muhammad. His family, which held many high office in Al-Andalus, had emigrated to Tunisia after the fall of Seville to the Reconquista in 1248. The man who was born in Tunisia in one Ramadan 732 Hijriah is known as a historian and the father of the Islamic sociology, who memorized the Quran from an early age. As an Islamic political expert, he is also known as the father of Islamic economic because his talk on logical and realistic economic theory have been put forward long before Adam Smith in 1723 until 1790, and also David Ricardo in 1772 until 1823 put forward their economic theory. Even when he entered his teens, his writing has spread everywhere. The writings and talks of Ibn Khaldun were born because of his very deep study and observation of various people he knew with extensive knowledge. And he lived among them in his wide wandering as well. Thank you very much. The presentation will be continued with my friend Ahmad Fajari.
Okay, thanks to Fahariza for explaining. Let's take a look at the PowerPoint slide on the side. At the PowerPoint, here I will explain the point behind this. European social scientists were deeply impressed by Ibn Khaldun predating sociology, especially in the Muqaddimah. For information, the term sociology itself did not appear until 9th century when the surviving of the French philosopher Auguste Comte was presented. Muqaddimah is a work that magnifies the name Ibn Khaldun on the map of Islamic civilization. It is considered the most systematic description of the irregulars of social sciences. Its readers can thus get a deep understanding of the Muslim world in the Middle Age. His famous work is the Muqaddimah or Prolegomena. It means introduction, which he wrote in 6 months as he states in his autobiography. Influenced 7th century, there is Ottoman historians like Khatib Salebi, Ahmad Sefdet Pasha, and the last is Mustafa Naima, who used his theories to analyze the growth and decline of the Ottoman Empire. Ibn Khaldun interacted with Tamerlane, the founder of the Timurid Empire. In the Muqaddimah, his most important work, he discusses an introduction of philosophy to history in a general manner, based on observable pattern within a theoretical framework of known historical event of his time. He described the beginning, development, cultural trend, and the fall of all societies, leading to the rise of a new society which would follow the same trend in a continuous cycle. Also, he recommended the best political approaches to develop a society according to this knowledge of a history. He heavily emphasized that a good society would be one in which a traditional of education is deeply rooted in the cultural. Ibn Khaldun in 1987 introduced the word asabiya, that is solidarity, group feeling, or group consequences, to explain tribalism. I think that's enough from me.
Okay, I will continue my friend previous presentation, Mas Ahmad Fajari. Ibn Khaldun also believed that the currency of an Islamic monetary system should have intrinsic value and therefore be made of gold and silver, such as the dirham. He emphasized that the weight and purity of this coin should be strictly followed. The weight of 1 dinar should be 1 mitkal, the weight of 72 grains of barley, roughly 4.25 grams, and the weight of 7 dinar should be equal to weight of 10 dirhams, 7% of a mitkal, or 2.96 grams. Ibn Khaldun outlined an early example of political economy. He describes the economy as being composed of value-adding process, that is, labor and skill, is added to techniques and craft, and the product is sold at the higher value. He also made the distinction between profit and sustenance. In modern political economy terms, surplus and that required for the reproduction of classes respectively. He also calls for the creation of a science to explain society and goes on to outline these ideas in his major work, the Mukaddimah. In Al Mukaddimah, Khaldun states, civilization and its well-being, as well as business prosperity, depend on productivity and people's effort in all directions in their own interests and profit. Ibn Khaldun differed from norms that Muslim historians followed and rejected their focus on the credibility of the transmitter and focused instead on the validity of the stories and encouraged critical thinking. Ibn Khaldun also outlines early theories of division of labor, taxes, scarcity, and economic growth. Khaldun was also one of the first to study the origin and cause of poverty. He argued that poverty was a result of the destruction of morality and human values. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the time. I will continue the presentation. The British historian Arnold G. Toynbee called the Mukaddimah a philosophy of history that is undoubtedly the greatest work of its kind that any mind has ever created at any time or any place. Abdurrahman Lakzazi writes, no historian of the Arab Maghrib, especially the Berbers, could do without his historical contribution. Ibn Khaldun's contribution in Islam is Ibn Khaldun's epistemology attempted to reconcile mysticism with theology by dividing science into two different categories. That's the religious science that relies on the Quran and the non-religious science, like intellectual science such as logic, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and auxiliary science such as language, literature, and poetry, and so on. He tried to adapt to all possible societies' cultural behavior and influence in education, economic, politics. Nonetheless, he didn't think that laws were chosen by a leader or a small group of individuals, but mostly by the majority of the individual of a society. And from Ibn Khaldun we can learn As human beings, we must have moral in living in society. Your moral are your ideas about right and wrong, especially how you should act and treat other people. And the second is we must be willing to work hard to give and the best for our goals and ideals. That's all. Thank you for listening our presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.